realised I haven't written the actual intro.
In today's show, we're talking about stuff.
Welcome to GCP Live, episode number 58 for Friday, the 16th of February 2024. GCP Live is sponsored by Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. And I'm your host, Stephen Bancroft. On today's show, Google is in hot water again, leaky vessels and bootloader bugs, plus barred rebrands, and can we really detect AI-generated images in the AI wars? But before we get to any of that, I'd like to introduce the co-host of the show, Ian Brown. How are you, Ian?
I'm good, Maggie. How you doing, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Got that intro written there just at the last minute.
Nothing like putting a show together at the final hour.
That's it. Well, when you think about it, the workflow we've got, we go through it during the fortnight, and then we kind of finalise what's going to go into the show around Tuesday, I think. There might be a couple of last-minute ones that come in on the Wednesday, but I don't actually get to write the intro until when we actually sit down to record because I don't want to write it up ahead because I don't know what's going to go in. You know what I mean? Yeah.
No, and that's it, because it's like, for instance, it's like 1:15 now. We've been on the podcast on the call since 1 o'clock my time. And like literally the last 30 seconds is you putting together the intro.
In fact, I started the intro and then stopped because I realised I hadn't written it.
Prior to that, it was just fixing some technical bugs in a brand new build, trial by fire.
We'll give that's a little peek behind the curtain for you guys and how the show's put together.
Disorganisation at its best. I love it.
Yes, I know, but it all comes out at the end. Yes, but besides that, I've been playing around with my VMWARE rack.
Yes, I saw this. You've got some pretty servers there with some flashy lights. And along with it, of course, it's all sort of come hand in hand. I've had to build the Wi-Fi system for the house at the same time because I wanted to have everything set up properly behind the modem, a bridging modem, and then my firewall, and then all the Wi-Fi system behind that. Because previously it was just all hanging off the mesh off the Netcom modem, and I wouldn't have been able to set up any natting or any external ports or anything like that. So it all had to come along together and be done as one kind of hit. So I had an order come there with a TP-Link switch and some EAPs. The TP-Link 653s, and I've dotted them around the house. I've actually got 4 of them. Yep. I've only implemented 3 at the moment. And they're pumping it out. They're absolutely pumping it out. I'm getting there's one just in the room here, and like 2 rooms over, and I'm still getting minus 55 dB. So plenty of power there. Yeah, lots.
And I've hooked those in and did all the adoption and all that and set all that up, and that was a bit of fun. And actually, the TP-Link system has this AI optimizer in it.
I remember you saying this.
Yeah, so once you set them all up and you're getting them sort of going, you hit this AI optimizer and it goes through and it works out the power, the channel that needs to be on, and the bandwidth that each of the APs needs to be on to get an optimum coverage and optimal signal. And every time I've run it like 3 or 4 times now, and every time I've done it, it's gone, it shows you the percentage increase is 76%, 40%, 12%. The last one I ran was like 6%. So every time it's just getting a little bit better.
Yeah, nice.
And I've not had any complaints from the kids or the wife or anything. So
hang on. I remember you telling me yesterday that there might have been a minor dilemma yesterday morning with the Wi-Fi.
Oh no, that was a separate little incident. I put the wrong static IP into the DHCP reservation for the firewall, and of course it refreshed overnight, and boom, everything went off the air. That's when I had it as a double NAT, but that's gone now. I've put it in bridging mode. So yeah, there's that, and then on top of it, that's right, I've got these 4 R630 Dell R630 machines. Mm-hmm. and they've got 4 like 1.2 terabyte spinning disks and 2 120 SSDs, which is more than enough for a lab.
Oh, right?
Yeah. So the idea is I've got the 4 there. I'm going to sort of make 2 sites, so to speak, and I'll have 2 in one site and 2 in another site, and that'll allow me to set up vSAN at each site as well, and I'll be able to do things like HCX migrations between the sites and set up routing between the sites and things like that. So I can have a full sort of environment emulated there.
Yeah, nice.
That's the idea. But so they're in the rack now. I've just been spending the last couple of days racking them, running some cable in, had to do an order of Cat 6, some patch leads. This morning I was setting up all the iDRACs. So they're all in place now, and it's looking good. I've actually got ESXi installed on one of them.
Mm-hmm.
And that'll be the next step now, is go through and install ESXi on all of them, and then get on to vSphere and bring them all into vSphere. So,
are you installing the Dell custom ESXi image on a USB and putting it on the internal header or on a disk?
Yeah, so what I did, there is an internal USB header, correct, and I just went down the old Officeworks there and grabbed some 32 gig USB, stuck them in there, and that's where it's installed on that internal header. But it's not the Dell custom image.
Oh, okay.
So I wasn't, I wanted to try and download that and had some problems downloading it, but I had a version 7 image and I threw that on there. It seems to have installed. So if I do the update, I know I can update it to, I think UO3 was the most recent one for version 7, so then I can probably go the Dell update at that point. But, I can blow it away and rebuild it if there's a problem. Not a big deal. So that's where I am with that. And, the rack's looking good. I've got a couple of switches, or 3 switches in there actually, and patch lines coming in from the rest of the house. And, yeah, it's like my own little data center. It's great.
Data center of Banky.
That's it.
Rent your rack space now. That's cool. Yeah, well, we've so I haven't been up to a huge amount. So as I think you know, the air conditioning in my car decided it wasn't going to play ball just before Christmas, which was not pleasant, given how hot it was over Christmas, New Year's up here, and still is. It's about 30 degrees in my office currently. So I went down to see the auto electrician yesterday, highly recommended bloke. And, he, an older fella, probably been in the industry for like 30 or 40 years, and he went through the air conditioning system with a fine-tooth comb for like an hour and then just went, you're going to need this, this and this, and we'll do a full test on it, and it's going to cost you somewhere in the vicinity of $2,000 and it'll be fixed. Like, right. Okay. When can you do this?
Nice.
Because at the end of the day, it's only money, but air conditioning is air conditioning.
All right. Look, before we get on with the news items, a couple of quick ones. I'll link an article in the show notes to a Cloudwards video. We've talked about the Cloud Wars on the show before, but this is an interview with Tomas Kurian. And he goes through the highlights of the last quarter, talks about the latest business outcomes, and discusses Gemini. It's he goes into it. They also give you a brief of the video as well, so you can just read through that. But it's good to see a video from Tomas Kurian, especially these guys. I don't know how they pulled him. They've done well to pull him, to get him for an interview like this. I imagine he'd be a very busy individual. Definitely worth a look. The video is, half an hour long? And you can probably get some insights from that you wouldn't from other media interviews that Tomas has done. Yeah,
that's right. It was good. One of the takeouts that I took off the sort of narrative there was Google Cloud has grown 5 times in 5 years. You think 100% year-on-year growth, which is phenomenal.
Well, the space was there, right? I mean, if it wasn't Google Cloud, it would have been one of the other guys that did it to they would have grown into the space.
Yeah. Really good interview, though.
It was good. Now, another one we've got here as well. This is from VMWARE, discussing that with the new licensing arrangements that VMware have, it's not strictly licensing. They've just shuffled around some of their SKUs and bundled things together differently. Some customers could face up to 1,200% price rise.
Yeah, this is nuts. So what VMware has done is they're obsoleting their perpetual licensing and trying to force everybody onto subscription models.
Subscription, yep.
And there's a whole heap of reasons why that might be a bad idea for some customers, but it appears to be. And of course, there's a VMware expert that's quoted in the article, Barry Pilling. He's quoted as saying it's a concerted effort by Broadcom to maximise revenue from the VMware product stack.
Yeah, of course.
Which is fairly typical of Broadcom.
Yep.
But
and along with that, and this is what I was trying to allude to, is that they're now bundling things. So, for instance, Cloud Foundations includes vSphere, vSAN, NSX, and the ARIA management tool.
Yep.
So you just end up paying for all that.
Yeah.
Even if you're not using it.
That's right.
And specifically, the reason I mentioned that one is because there was something else that came up during the week and we hadn't included in the show up to this point. But if you do now have a Cloud Foundations license, you are free to move that between your on-prem and GCP. They've allowed that in that license.
Yeah, that's right.
So you can get that full software-defined environment. If you're running it on-prem currently, or you want to set it up on-prem, then you can move the license to the cloud, or you can go backwards and forwards how you please.
But I wonder really how cost-effective that is. I mean, Google wouldn't be paying anywhere near the licensing price that a smaller business in Australia would be. I assume. No, they get
you would think they would get some sort of bulk discount on that. Yeah,
a hyperscaler and all.
Yeah.
But the other thing I took out of this article is that VMware or Broadcom now is requesting an installed base report at renewal time, which, look, it sounds like, oh yeah, okay, you want to know what infrastructure we've got in here so that you can fit the license better. But one of the other sort of positions on that, and possibly a bit of the negative side of the opinion on that, is that it's a good way for Broadcom to audit customers without really thinking about it. So
yeah,
it's like what's out there and how are people using our products so that we can maximise the amount of money we're going to get out of it.
Yeah.
There was a university in this article that's quoted as they've gone from like £50,000 of support or £40,000 of support for the year up to now £500,000 of support for the year, which is that's an astronomical increase.
Yeah. And they've probably got a whole bunch of stuff that they don't use.
Yeah, that's right.
In there. Yeah. I was going to say it's hard to see what their motives are, but I think it's pretty obvious what their motives are.
Make as much money as possible.
Yeah, exactly.
It seems like what it is.
All right, with that out of the way, let's get on with the news items. And first cab off the rank today is probably a story that we missed from end of December. And that is Google settled a $5 billion privacy lawsuit over tracking people using incognito mode. I didn't even know this was going on.
Oh, yeah. So I knew about this last year, but I didn't know what the outcome was, and I finally stumbled across the article. So Google was accused of, or it was alleged that they were spying on people or tracking people whilst they were using incognito mode in the Chrome browser, along with similar private modes in other browsers. So it's argued,
sneaky.
Yeah. So it's argued that Google's advertising technologies and other techniques continued to catalog details of users' site visits and activities despite their use of supposedly private browsing, which. It's private browsing insofar as it doesn't go into your history, but it's never really private.
No. The class action lawsuit filed in 2020 said Google misled users into believing that it wouldn't track their internet activities while using incognito mode.
There
you go.
So they reached a settlement, and that was sort of late December, early January. The terms weren't disclosed, but the suit was originally sought. The suit originally sought US $5 billion on behalf of the users, which is roughly enough 7.3 billion Australian dollars. And lawyers for the plaintiff said they expect to present the court with a final settlement agreement by February 24, which is only 9 days away.
They're not going to pay $5 billion.
I very much doubt it.
It won't be that much. It'll be some other figure, much, much smaller.
Yep. Yeah, I would think so. But it's interesting. It's another one of those things of, like, if you're telling people en masse that you're not doing something and then you go and do it, then prepare to be dragged over the coals.
So who was in the class action? I wonder, and like, who was the plaintiff, like leading plaintiff in the class action? I don't know anything about the actual case.
Yeah, I don't remember the details on it, and I can't find the old article that I read because, as you can imagine, we use hundreds of tabs every single day, so a week is too far to scroll back.
Yeah. All right, well, we'll try and, in 9 days, by the next episode, we should have another article come out to give us all the details.
Yep.
Excellent. We'll keep tabs on that one. All right, well, let's move on with a couple of things that Google has done over the last fortnight. And the first one here is they've turned on, Google switches on its first Africa cloud region. This is cool.
It is. It is very cool.
In 2021, Google said the company would invest $1 billion to support $1 billion to support the continent's digital evolution over a period of 5 years. This has got to be good.
Yeah.
It's got to be good for a country like Africa, right?
So it was said there in a separate 2022 announcement, Google reckoned that its South Africa cloud region, which at that point was just a pipeline project, would contribute more than a cumulative $2.1 billion to the country's GDP and create more than 40,000 jobs by 2030.
Wow.
That's got to be a massive boost to the region.
Yeah. 40,000. Wow.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about the South African or the African tech industry. How savvy are they? How tech are they? I imagine.
Well, I don't know. I know about as much as you do, but it says here that Africa's internet economy is predicted to reach 180 billion by 2025, accounting for 5.2% of the continent's entire GDP.
Okay, so there's room to move. This is smart. This is smart because there's room to move. There's room to grow there.
Yep, definitely.
Right? This is the thing. You've got to get these burgeoning economies. I remember in the 90s, early 90s, the big thing was, mobile phones are exploding everywhere, right? And the big deal was you've got to get into Southeast Asia, got to get into Asia because they didn't really have a telephony network per se.
Yeah, right.
It was very, very antiquated and not like here, we'd pick up the phone and you assume it'd work, right? Like a normal landline phone. They didn't really have that. Not to the same level anyway.
The old rotary dial.
So it was all about let's get the phones into Southeast Asia because there's so many people there and there's so much room to grow, so much expansion that can happen there.
Yeah, right.
And I guess that's what the idea here is, identifying that market and saying, that's, we don't have anything there like this and let's be the first and we can capitalize on that.
Yeah. So, and that's right. Google's going in and they're doing it. They've got the region that's opened up is in Johannesburg. And that just opens a pathway for other countries within that South Africa region getting their own region as well.
Yep. And don't forget the network that comes along with it, the subsea cable that comes along with it.
And the possibility then of Google Fiber as well. Yeah. I'd love to see that over here, but, NBN takes over.
NBN. Don't get me started. Every time I go to order my fibre to the premises, they tell me they're not installing my area.
Speaking of fibre to the premise, quick aside here. Got a letter the other day to say that the build is starting in our area. So fibre to the premise is coming.
Lucky you.
Gigabit internet for me.
Lucky you. Although, I have to say, my 140 service is actually quite good. I get about 105 megabits out of it.
Have you got the Sam Nose device plugged in?
I've got Sam Nose plugged in as well. Yep. All right, so moving on. What else is going on? Control Pod egress traffic using FQDN network policies.
Yeah.
Tell us about this, Ian.
Yeah, so this is a way to control the egress traffic on a pod using fully qualified domain names. So much the same as Google Cloud Firewall now supports FQDNs
firewall policies
in their firewall policies.
Yep.
Now you can have an FQDN network policy resource on your deployment, on your ingress or egress.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, and it will control what sites those pods are allowed to access. Now, there's some caveats here. It's got to be running a modern GKE cluster, so 1.26, 1.27 and above. You've got to be on GKE data plane 2. You must use one of the DNS providers in your GKE cluster. So if your pod overrides the DNS provider, then obviously this doesn't work. Mm-hmm. Windows nodes aren't supported, and neither is Anthos Service Mesh at this point. I can see that coming in the future. But essentially what happens is you define it's a v1 alpha 1 networking.gke.io policy of a kind FQDN network policy, and you have egress pattern matching in there with some ports and protocols, and GKE does the rest.
Mm-hmm.
So some limitations of the system and known issues, I suppose you could call it, is currently if you put protocol all, it doesn't match it properly. It just lets the traffic through. So you've got to define like protocol TCP, protocol UDP, and the likes. That is being fixed.
Right. So that's a bug more than a feature restriction.
Yeah, very much so.
Yep.
There you go. So that's just a way of preventing your pods from accessing something that you might consider off bounds or out of bounds or potentially malicious.
Mm-hmm. Nice. And I guess it does dynamically, right? So if they're updating their DNS, or they may have multiple IP addresses for that domain, just looks after it for you.
Yeah. So the way it's a bit funny the way it works. So the DNS request to that domain still functions, but the minute the IP address comes back, that IP is put into a block list.
All right, and another new feature, using Firestore as an accelerator for IAML workloads on GKE.
Yeah, so this is another really cool feature. So obviously, Firestore is Google's managed NFS product. It's like super fast, premium read-write type storage that you can mount to pretty well anything. It has a CSI driver for GKE. And what happens is you provision a Firestore volume of a certain name, and then in your deployment, you use that same name for your persistent volume claim, and now you can use that within your AIML workload. And the stats here are a bit cool because it says that you can increase the throughput by about 37%.
Mm. And we couldn't do this before, just with a NFS mount?
No, well, it doesn't give you that high I/O that Firestore does.
Ah, that's the difference,
That's
right.
the difference, yeah. So Firestore's I/O is phenomenal. I mean, we used it at Unisuper for vSAN, or not vSAN, but storage backing.
That's right. Yeah, and it was. I remember you moving stuff from vSAN onto Firestore, and it was quite snappy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's not anywhere near as fast as like local SSD on a host, but I mean, nothing is because it's locally connected. But the stats here, there's a couple of training results stats here, and if you've got cloud storage, for instance, your training time in seconds is 4,837 seconds. Versus Firestore Basic SSD, so it's a zonal product, gives you 3,006 seconds, which represents that 37%.
So why wouldn't you use attached storage then? Because that's going to be quicker, right? Really?
Oh yeah.
Cost, I suppose.
Yeah. So the Firestore cost is quite high. We're currently pricing it up on the project I'm on, and like you want 10 terabytes of storage, that's going to cost you about $10,000 a month.
Yeah, but that's going to be cheaper than direct attached disk, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, right. So you've really got three options there now,
actually,
right?
no, it doesn't. It's not faster than a touch disk. If you create a 10 terabyte disk, it's not going to. It'll cost you. I think it's like about $3,500 for 10 terabytes.
Yeah.
Versus Firestore costs you about 10.
Huh.
Yeah, it's considerably more expensive.
So why would you do that? Why would you use NFS Firestore over an attached disk? Then?
Well, because the persistent volume claim is still a persistent disk, and you're connecting to it via that persistent volume claim. So Firestore is actually a lot faster than that because it's not using. It's got accelerators in the product.
Right. I suppose if you're sharing between workloads as well.
Yep. Yeah, that would be a big one. Multiple mounts.
That's a big one. Yep. That'd be why. Got there in the end, are you?
Yeah. I'm a bit slow today for some reason. Haven't slept real well.
Because there's no use having these things without a use case, right?
Yeah,
You've got to
right.
understand the use case, and then once you do that, then you can realise what it's for. Cool. All right. Well, a couple of new features there to check out. Let's move on with some security news. Bootloader bug.
Yeah.
Now, this one is pretty obscure. Bootloader bug exposes Linux secure boot.
Yes. So look, this one was first discovered by a Red Hat by the shim maintainer, Red Hat, January 23rd. But it's mostly flown under the radar. So for those who don't know, shim is the executable that does the secure boot loading. So it and I'll actually put a link into our show notes for the what shim is. There's a really good deep dive into what shim is and how it works and all that sort of stuff. But essentially, this bug supports trust attacker controlled values when passing a HTTP response, which allows an attacker to craft a specific malicious HTTP request, which leads to a completely controlled out of bands write primitive and complete system compromise. So obviously not good. You can boot servers off your network, and all of a sudden it's taken over by an attacker, and it's all theirs.
Right. So, in order to do that, though, you got your PXE booting a server, right?
Yes.
Is that the entry vector?
Yeah. So it's manipulate the PXE chain.
Yep. Really? How many machines are PXE booting?
Oh, well, I suppose there's probably still a few around. I couldn't imagine there'd be a huge amount. But more than likely, you'll see that in enterprises that are maybe re-imaging servers.
Yes, re-imaging stuff.
Or laptops, for instance. Like I used to do it all the time when I was imaging laptops. You just PXE boot them from a network boot server and it'd go in and do its thing.
That's a good use case for PXE boot, but the thing is, that's ephemeral. So you'll boot up, you'll install your machine, and then you reboot an installed OS. So how I fail to see the advantage that an attacker could get out of that. Interesting. Yeah, they don't get. I suppose I have to go and read the CV to see more detail on how it's done and what it is, but it's hard to see. I suppose how this could actually be exploited.
Yeah. I suppose if you're just imaging machines, then, I mean, it's not going to really affect things because the PXE boot is literally the bootloader to get the installer working. But if you're running servers off PXE boot, like you've got a network boot server there, let's say, for instance, a Citrix cluster inside of a VMware environment that PXE boots and loads up a specific loader that could be vulnerable to this.
Yeah, that's okay. That might be a case where you've got farms of machines that are just doing the same thing. Citrix machines would be a perfect example.
Yep.
And they just boot up and run from the PXE.
Yeah.
But once again, I mean, you've got to get into the environment to do that.
That's right.
And
so it's an internal attacker.
Down. Yeah.
Now, to put a bright spin on this, the upstream fix is in on GitHub on shim version 15.8. So it is fixed. It's just you won't see it on RHEL 9 or Rocky Linux 9 or any of the major vendors for some time. It's certainly not on the LTS release.
All right, and another major bug that seems to have come out is the leaky vessels flaw.
That's a great name, isn't it?
It's a good name. It's a good name. Now, this is not a single bug, but it's a collection of 4 bugs, and it relates to being able to escape Docker containers.
Yeah. So, and the I suppose the scary part about this is once you've escaped a Docker container and you're on the control plane in Kubernetes, you've got access to every other Docker container on that cluster. And that's assuming that you're root. If you're not root, then you've got whatever permissions you have as a user. But SNCC, who was the ones who discovered this, they have said that there is no evidence of this exploitation being used in the wild.
So they've gone around and checked every Docker container and every Kubernetes install.
I very much doubt that. I very much doubt that. But they have said that they can't see any active exploitation of it in the wild. However, they do encourage sysadmins that are out there who manage Kubernetes clusters and Docker containers to apply the available security updates ASAP.
Yeah. So it specifically affects RunC and BuildKit container infrastructure and build tools. So that's where you need to get your updates if you're using those tools.
Yep. And there's a whole list of the CVEs there and how they work and how to defeat them.
Any mention of a fix on this one yet?
Yeah. So the right down the bottom of this article, it's impact and remediation. And the different vendors, so AWS, GCP, and Ubuntu have published relevant security bulletins guiding users through the appropriate steps to resolve the flaw. And there's the new Docker release version 4.27.0 also rectifies this.
And fixes were released on January 31. BuildKit fixed flaws with version 0.12.5. And RunC fixed it with 1.1.12. So if you're running that or higher, you should be fine.
Yeah.
And one last one for security, and this one's a little bit closer to home. The Australian, is it the Australian Signals Director? Home Affairs officials have refused. Home Affairs officials have refused to confirm a report that military intelligence veteran Major General Michelle McGuinness will be the next National Cybersecurity Coordinator. So what's happened is our friend Air Marshal Goldie, a couple of months after taking on the position of Australian Cybersecurity Coordinator, he went on extended leave.
Yeah.
And only a couple of months after it, and he's not come back.
Did you see what he cited for the reason why he needed the leave?
And a workplace matter, an unrelated workplace matter.
Oh, yeah, a workplace matter. I wonder what's going on there. But
that's another story on itself. I
think that one really should be investigated a bit more. Home Affairs Secretary Stephanie Foster said that the permanent replacement for Air Marshal Goldie would be announced in the coming weeks in response to questions by Shadow Cybersecurity Minister James Patterson. No one will confirm nor deny whether Major General McGuinness will be the one. But she does come from quite the background. So she's currently the Deputy Director for Commonwealth Integration at the US Defence Intelligence Agency.
But here's the thing. This article does say this. Like the previous incumbent, Royal Australian Air Force Air Marshal Darren Goldie, McGuinness does not have experience or qualifications in cybersecurity.
That's right.
I don't know. And these top brass, I mean, are they going to have experience in cybersecurity? No, they're not.
No, they're not.
For me, it just reaffirms that I mean, you served, you've probably got an opinion on this. I don't think the ADF is ready, really, in any capacity.
So,
this shows it.
So what it says to me is that by the time someone has got to the rank where they can become this head of agency.
It takes years and years and years, right?
They are so out of date with the current cybersecurity practices that they're useless.
Moved on. Yeah.
And not to say that Major General McGuinness will be useless, but what I'm saying is that like cybersecurity moves so quickly. And you've really got to keep on top of it. It's got to be your bread and butter for your entire life in order to stay on top of it. So putting someone in there who maybe hasn't touched cybersecurity in 10 years, I mean, they're 10 years behind. You're putting someone in from 10 years ago.
And the ADF just not mature enough in their cybersecurity practices to have someone in a top position that's got the required skills.
That's right. I think ASD should definitely, so the Australian Signals Directorate, sorry for the acronyms, ex-military, so acronyms are everything. Probably why I fit into IT so well, because it's got more acronyms than any other industry. But yeah, the Australian Signals Directorate should probably be the ones who head up cybersecurity, being that is their bread and butter.
Yeah, it's certainly an interesting position when they're trying to put these military brass into those cybersecurity roles, and clearly they're just not capable at the moment.
No, that's right.
Because I get it, right? It's a battlefront, right? It's the next warfare, right? So let's have these guys in there that should have the skills and knowledge, but it's different. It's completely different. Yeah, right.
You're competing on a virtual space that can be there 1 second and gone the next.
Yep. I guess it sort of dovetails in with like certain security clearances and things that they would need to have at this level, and like someone like Major General Michelle McGuinness would have that.
Yep.
I don't know how far the guys in the Signal Directorate. No, I guess they
have just the same clearance. They have to.
Yeah.
Because they're dealing with national security. Surveillance. But yeah, look, it's unfortunately it's a reflection on how governments move and how the military moves. The military is still stuck in the 1970s where battles are fought on a battlefield and not on a computer.
Yeah, and that's clearly not the case anymore.
Yeah.
All right, well, we'll keep an eye on that one and see how she gets the top job. Let's do it, eh? Let's get on with the AI Wars.
The AI Wars.
That's always my favourite time of the fortnight, the AI Wars.
I love this
bit. So straight off the top here, we've got Bard rebranding. Bard is now Gemini.
It is. Bard is Gemini. Yep. Bard was something else before it was Bard, and then it's Gemini.
I'm sure we could make a song out of that. Of course, Gemini is the language model that backed Bard, but now we're just calling the whole thing Gemini.
Yep. Yeah.
And along with that, we're getting a paid subscription.
Yes, a paid subscription, because why can't we have a paid subscription?
Why not have a paid subscription?
Yeah, you've got Gemini in the Pixel 8s now. There's a version of Gemini, we'll call it loosely, in the Samsung S24. And then you can use gemini.google.com and go and ask Gemini questions there. And then you've got Duet AI if you're a programmer or a DevOps engineer and you're using VS Code or any other supported IDE. You've got Duet AI to help you write code. But now we need a subscription model for Gemini Pro or Premium.
So the subscription's $19.99 US a month. And you get access to Gemini Advanced. It's a slightly better model, well, much better model, more powerful Ultra 1.0 AI model, and you get 2 terabytes of cloud storage. Okay, the storage alone typically costs $9.99.
So you're paying another $10 for the AI model.
Could be enticing. I don't know. It's bundled as the Google One AI Premium plan.
Now, I've got Google One.
You got the $2.99 one where you get like a couple of terabytes of storage?
No, I've got the... I can't remember how much I'm paying. It's like $9 a month or something. I can't remember.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Well, because we store all of our photos in Google Photos, and I want Google One VPN on everything, even though, and Google, I hope you're listening, you don't support Linux yet. Get onto that quick, smart.
Oh, shame.
Yep. But yeah, so we use Google One. I'm not sure that they could convince me to spend $30 a month. There's certainly not when I've got a Pixel 7 and I can't even get the Gemini app on my phone now.
You can't?
Nope.
You can't get it on Pixel 7? No, it won't support it.
So you can get the Gemini app that replaces the Google Assistant, but not in Australia.
Yet.
Yes.
Okay.
It's not available in this country yet.
Yeah. I have to admit, I never actually went looking for it.
Yeah, no, it's definitely there. I went looking for it the other day because I was like, oh, I could have Gemini on my Pixel 7. That's awesome. So I went searching for it, and it's actually called Gemini app.
Gemini, I'm just looking at this. Is some live installing right here. Gemini app. Okay. Google Assistant has come up in the search when I do search for. Okay, Gemini is coming to Google Assistants.
Yep. Yeah, right. So because you got a Pixel 8 Pro,
so it's going to integrate with Google Assistant, is it? Right.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to essentially replace it because Gemini is the model that has reasoning and everything built into it. So it's quite a lot more advanced than the normal, like what Bard was and what ChatGPT is. And I really am looking forward to it, but I don't know that they're going to convince me to pay $30 a month for it.
No. I think, regular searching and a bit of Duet AI is doing everything I need at the moment.
Yep.
Especially not for $30 a month.
Yeah. And even Gemini on the web is doing, like if Duet AI isn't giving me the data that I need, I'll go to Gemini on the web and use that.
Yeah. And that's doing the work. All right, but look, maybe they'll have a bit of a shuffle, a bit of a shake up around their pricing and plans and things when this comes in.
Yeah, I hope so, because I'd really like to try it. But yeah, that's a bit much.
Yep, especially when you convert it to Aussie dollars.
Yeah, because that's so $19.99 is $30.81 Australian.
Yeah.
At the time when this was published, which was February 9th, so it's probably gone up since then.
Yeah,
because our dollars got weaker.
And speaking of Gen AI, Meta to start labeling AI-generated images from companies like OpenAI and Google.
Yep, they certainly have. So they're labeling their own, and they have been labeling their own for some time. But Meta will apply labels to any content carrying the markers that it posted to its Facebook, Instagram, and Thread services in an effort to signal to users that the images, which, and I will admit I've been tricked by a couple of them, in many cases resemble real photos, are actually digital creations.
I'm going to ask the question. How are they going to know?
I don't know. There's evidently some markers there. But what they have said is, once the new technology is up and running, Meta will do the same for images created on services run by OpenAI, Microsoft, Adobe, Midjourney, Shutterstock, and Google. And they've said in this article here that that there will be for content creators that use artificially generated images in their content. If those creators refuse to tag those images as artificially generated, there'll be penalties for it.
Right. This is a train wreck waiting to happen. I can just see it coming down the tunnel now. This is just going to turn into a hot mess.
Yep.
Imagine how many false positives there are going to be.
Oh, there's going to be heaps. That's
my concern, right? Yeah. Like I've heard of it anecdotally happening already. Like there was Reddit forum where people were posting their artwork, and people have already been pinged by the community saying your artwork's AI generated, and the creator said, "No, hang on a minute, no, it's not. I've created it myself." If people can't get it right, how are the machine's going to get it right?
Well, that's it. And then you've got that coupled with Facebook's abhorrent reclassification process. So if you get incorrectly flagged for like DCMA or anything like that, the process to get your content reactivated on their platform is absolutely atrocious.
A nightmare. Yep. Think of what's happening on YouTube. The amount of content creators that get pinged for content infringement.
Yeah.
There's stories of YouTubers having a second channel, and their content on the second channel is too similar to the content on their primary channel, so second channel gets pinged for ripping them off, ripping themselves. Oh, hang on a minute. This is going to be a nightmare, but I'm going to sit back and watch. It's going to be fun to watch.
Let's watch the dumpster fire burn.
It is going to be a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Because it's just going to be an arms race, a constant arms race, and the AI detectors are going to be, it's going to be the machines be the machines. Yep. It really will be the AI wars, right? The people who are making the AI art, and then the machines will be trying to detect the AI art. It's just going to be leapfrogging each other.
And how long is it going to take for some content creator to find a way to generate art that crashes the AI detector?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one.
I want to see the day that happens.
I'm thinking about music, right? So you're getting AI-generated music now.
Yeah.
And it's happening. Like I don't know if you've ever used Go to this song radio. I don't know if you've ever used that feature. So what you do is you find a song that you like on Spotify, and you go, I want to kind of listen to songs like that of that ilk, like 90s hip hop or something, and it'll just generate a playlist that's just goes on forever with all the songs of that ilk. It's kind of a cool way to find songs that you'd never listened to before. You would not normally listen to.
Okay.
So use that feature. Now, there was one particular song this was a few months ago now, I did that with, and all the songs that came up in the radio all sounded very, very similar, and they just were all copy-pastas of each other. And listening closely, like it wasn't quite defined properly, it wasn't very clear, and I thought, these songs are all AI generated. There had to be, and someone's just spammed them all up onto Spotify, and they're getting thousands of hits, and they're getting some coin return on those AI generated songs. So
yeah, right.
I went back and I tried to generate that same radio channel again, and all those songs have gone. So Spotify's obviously picked it up. But here's the thing: what if the opposite of that starts happening? What if someone's got a million plays on a song, and Spotify pings you as AI generated, and suddenly that song's removed?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's going to happen.
Hot mess. It's going to happen.
It's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, Google already flags on YouTube. If you post a video on YouTube with music in it, Google already attempts to detect the author, or the songwriter, or the musician for that piece of music, and they have musicians can go in and put copyright stuff on their music for Google to respect. So if let's say I posted a video and it had some music that a musician didn't want me to use, Google would flag that immediately, and I wouldn't actually be able to post that video.
Yep.
So it sort of happens.
So they have agreements with the record labels as well to actually permission to use, and that we're not going to go into it now, but there was a whole hubbub with TikTok and Universal Music. Universal pulled all their licensing on TikTok. I got to catch up with that story, but TikTok needs Universal and Universal needs TikTok, so they both need each other. But they're going to be complaining about it.
Yeah.
So now into AI into the mix, and oh boy,
yes,
it's going to be fun to sit back and watch.
Yeah, definitely. I think.
But yeah, we'll see how the detectors work, right? We'll see what happens.
Yeah, what's her name? Connor from Terminator. She should be rolling in a grave.
Sarah Connor. Yeah,
Sarah Connor. That's it.
Just on that, I've just got that last link here, and just on that, I will link to the Google One AI page, Google One AI Premium benefits page.
Oh, yeah.
And that breaks down what you actually get if you get the Google One AI Premium package.
Yep.
All right. I think that's about it for the AI Wars.
It is. We've run out of things to talk about.
We have, and that's about it for this fortnight's show. Don't forget to go to iTunes and write a review for the show to really help the show out. You can contact the show, gcplife@kasna.com.au. I believe I have not been notified if that's been changed to a Mental Group address as yet. Don't forget, you can find us on the web as well. And don't forget, today's sponsor is Mantle Group. At Mantle Group, we make your Google Cloud solutions possible. All right, that's probably it from us. Anything else from you, Ian?
No, mate. I'm going to go and let the air conditioning guys into my room so that they can put air conditioners in here.
Awesome. Let's hope it cools the place down,
yeah,
eh?
I hope so.
All right, and we'll catch you in a fortnight. See ya.
Bye.
Let's move on to some